What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Gimme presented by BetMGM. Why do we call it the Gimme? You guys know why. Because it's good. This week, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am on one of the most beautiful places on earth. Robert Louis Stevenson called it the most felicitous meeting of land and sea in creation, and it's tough to argue with Mr. Stevenson there. I'm Jason Sobel. She's Amanda Rose. We're going to get into everything from the Crosby clam bake this week. Coming up, our perfect portfolios, our first round leader contest. We're going to make an ultimate DFS lineup. But first, let me say hi to Amanda. How are you?
Jason, I've been better. I'm missing you quite terribly now that I'm back home. It's like I don't get to see that beautiful round head of yours in the flesh, but it's okay. I'm surviving. How are you? I know you're missing me a lot.
That was the backhandedest compliment I've ever gotten. Sure. I miss you. Let's get to the top of the board at BetMGM. Patrick Cantlay, rightfully so, the big favorite this week. He is plus 650, actually drifted just a little bit. He was plus 600 for a little while, even with Will Zalatoris's withdrawal due to a positive COVID test. Cantlay still plus 650. Let's get to our perfect portfolios. As you can see, speaking of last week, Amanda, you had Will Zalatoris. Now, look, it's not reflected on the board there. I'm sure you hedged it once we got well into Saturday's final round.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to hit. But when I saw Luke List hole out from that bunker for Eagle or whatever it was on the back nine, I turned to my friend Samantha and I said, watch, Luke List is going to win the whole thing. And then a few hours later, he ended up winning the whole thing. So,
we're getting this week. That's why we keep going. All right, Let's get to our favorite outright plays. Who you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Matt Fitzpatrick. I'm going to put $40 on him. Now, he plays some of his best golf at these tight links courses. If you look at his finishes at the RBC, you'll get a really good idea of how he plays links courses, right? So he finished fourth there last year, tied for 23rd at the PGA Championship at Kiowa, and then tied for 10th at Palmetto. So you're getting a really good indication of the courses that he plays well on. I think he's going to get off to a good start this week. He's rested. It's his first start of the year. I think he has some good history in California. So I'm really looking for Matt Fitzpatrick, a good ball striker, a good putter, someone who can hit it in the fairway and then hit those little postage stamp greens every single hole consistently for 72 holes. I like Matt Fitzpatrick this week. And like I said, it plays well in California. I really thought he was going to win at some point last year in California. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him do it this year.
It is a really good number on Fitz this week. I'm going to hold off on him for another 2 weeks. I like him at Riviera in a few weeks. So just a little sneak preview there. All right. My favorite outright this week. Everybody was on Mito Pereira last year when he won for a third time on the Corn Ferry Tour, got the in-season promotion to the PGA Tour, had 3 top 6 finishes, and everyone was saying, okay, he's going to win at some point pretty soon. Since then, he's played well. He finished 25th place, tied for 25th last week in his first start of 2022. And I'll tell you something, Amanda, the last 3 winners on the PGA Tour, Hideki Matsuyama finished 13th at Kapalua, won the next week at the Sony. Hudson Swafford was around 48th at the Sony and then won the Amex. Luke List, 22nd at the Amex, wins at Torrey Pines. What do they all have in common? They all played pretty well the previous week in their first start of 2022, but none of them seriously contended, just kind of stepping stones, building blocks to the next week. Mito, like I said, 25th last week. This should be a really good event for him. He's won before on the Corn Ferry in a Pro-Am style event, 7th on the PGA Tour in strokes gained on approach shots on these 3 shorter courses. That should be a very strong metric this week. I'm taking him at 50-1 at BetMGM, putting 10 of my $100 on it in the perfect portfolio. All right, let's talk about these courses just a little bit. Of course, a 3-course rotation, only 2 last year when there was no Pro-Am portion of the event. They're back to having a Pro-Am. Back in 2020, Spyglass, as usual, played as the toughest of the 3 tracks over the first 3 rounds, a scoring average of 72.877. Pebble Beach was second, scoring average of 71.677. And then if you're playing maybe showdown lineups in DraftKings, maybe you're looking at first round leader bets, Monterey Peninsula Country Club, usually the easiest. 2 years ago, 69.690, the easiest by almost 2 full shots. So Let's get to our favorite props for these portfolios. Amanda, where are you going with yours?
So then I'm going to go with Tom Hogue. Is it Hoagie or Hogue? I can never.
Hoagie.
Hoagie.
Come on, Philly girl. You should know hoagies.
I know. Well, speaking, yeah. It's spelled wrong. So I'm going to put $20 on him for a top 20. So in his last 4 events, he has 2 top 4 finishes. Granted, he has 2 missed cuts, but he finished second at the Amex a fortnight ago, and then 4th at the RSM in the fall. So I'm looking right now at his strokes gained over his last few events. 20 events ago, he was gaining like a shot on the field, and now he's gaining 4.6. So his game is in a good spot, especially heading into this event where he finished tied for 12th last year. So I think just given how well he's been playing, you're still getting decent value on him. Top 20 play. I can't imagine him finishing outside the top 20. That to me feels like a pretty easy play. And I'm even going to probably put money on him for top 10, maybe even top 5.
I like that. I promise we will have some more Tom Hoagie talk in just a few minutes. I will get there. For my prop plays, I'm going to start off with Justin Rose. I really like the way he was hitting the ball last week at Torrey Pines. Kudos to Rose for sticking with the PGA Tour this week, whereas some players are going overseas. But Rose hasn't played this event in 5 years, does have a decent history and a small sample size at this one. Off the tee hasn't been great, but you don't have to be great off the tee on these 3 courses. He's still a premier iron player and a very good putter. Taking him for top 10 plus 225. And I'm throwing 60 of my $100 on Justin Rose. Very confident in him this week. As far as my second prop play, I'm going a little bit more of a long shot this week, and you might want to listen up here. Brandon Harkins. You might not know the name, played the PGA Tour back in 2018 and 2019. In each of those years, he played this Pebble Beach Pro-Am, finishing 28th place and 15th place. Okay, there's some history there. He also happened to win the unofficial TaylorMade Pebble Beach Invitational last fall and shot 21 under for 4 rounds, the lowest winning score there at that event in 4 decades. But wait, that's not all, Amanda. He also happened to win on the Corn Ferry Tour last week. And normally I might shy away from a guy who just came off a win, but that event ended on Wednesday. So he's had some time to recover, recoup, relax afterwards, and get back to work. I love the fact that he's not coming off a win on Sunday, but he's had 8 days by the time he gets to the first round to prepare after that victory. Like everything about Harkins, top 20 plus 400, $20 on it. All right, let's get to that ultimate DFS lineup. We do it every week on the Links and Locks podcast. Remember, check out our models, tools, optimizers, and so much else on Fantasy Labs every single week. Amanda, you have the first pick because you have the first pick. That's why.
I know, it's crazy. So this is a guy I cannot get enough of Seamus Power right now. 9,400, don't love the price, but I think he's going to be around for a very long time and he's going to win again very, very soon. So I was looking at ownership when I was going through my DFS picks this week. So I was looking at Powers at the Amex. His ownership was way down after people saw his price. He fell to 10.5% ownership versus 18 and 18.5% the 2 weeks prior. So you need to grab him while he's hot and while his ownership is low. He's expensive. People aren't going to want to put $9,400 on Seamus Power, but you should be putting money on Seamus Power literally across the board, whether it's DFS, first round leader, whatever. Top 10, top 5, just put money on him. He's playing so well that he's not giving you a reason to fade him. And his last 4 starts, right? 14th at the MX, 3rd at the Sony, 15th at the Century, and 4th at the RSM. Like, he's playing such good golf right now. And that right there is the golf that does well in DFS lineups, or excuse me, in DFS competitions.
What I like about Power is that he does everything well. It's not like, he's just a long hitter. He just makes putts. He pops in pretty much every metric. He's sort of like Patrick Cantlay light in that there's not a weakness really in his game. All right, I like that play. For my first pick, I'm going to go with the guy who's played really well so far in a small sample size this year, including an 11th place finish at Torrey Pines last week, where for 3 rounds, he's playing on a 7,700 yard golf course, which even he admits that's a lot of ballpark for him. I think he's going to be much more in his favored confines at 3 courses that are right around 7,000 yards this week. And that's Michael Thompson, beard and all. I like the look and I like the game. 7,900. He's in the lineup.
Yeah, Michael Thompson's beard is the darkest shade of brown I've ever seen on someone that I assume was blonde as a child. Like, it is so dark. It's incredible. It's like Peter Griffin's beard when the birds come out of it. Anyway, My second DFS pick is going to be Denny McCarthy, another guy I'm really bullish on, 8,200. I was obsessed with him going into the Amex. He went on to finish tied for sixth with an ownership of 3%. And that had dropped from 10% the week before, which doesn't make any sense to me. Why? There was no reason for people to not buy him, but his price a little up this week. I don't love that, but I just think he's going to continue to play really, really good golf. I think we're going to see another top 10 from him this week. He's gaining 6.6 strokes on the field in his last 5 events, which is exactly double what he was gaining in his last 10. So like I said, a little more expensive this week, but I assume the ownership is probably going to be down even more than it was 2 weeks ago. Buy Denny McCarthy while you can and put some money on him in the betting markets as well.
Last time we had a Pro-Am at the Amex and John Rahm talked about it being a putting contest. Well, that's why Denny McCarthy is one of the best putters on earth. So if it turns into a putting contest again, watch out for him. I like that. All right. My second play, everything I said about Michael Thompson, ditto for Aaron Rai, because I was very impressed that he contended and continued to play well throughout the final round last week at Torrey Pines. Again, 7,700 yards at Torrey South. That's a big ballpark for him. He's a straight hitter, but very short off the tee. Doesn't matter on a 7,000-yard course, and he's going to get 3 different ones this week. I think he's swinging it well. I love everything about this guy. The gloves, the iron covers. Go back and check out the reason. I tweeted it out last week. Check out the reason why he uses those iron covers. Goes back to a story about his dad and why his dad did it, and he does it to honor and remember his dad. Really cool story, really cool guy. I'm rooting for him. I think Aaron Rai is going to have a nice week at 7,900. I think it's a good price for him as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to round out my picks with Taylor Pendrith, 7,200. He's coming off the tie for 16th last week. He was low Canadian. He's pretty good on Poa greens. He's almost as good as he is on bent greens, which is usually Canadians' best service. So the fact that he has a pretty good mastery of the Poa says a lot to me, especially this week when it's probably going to be a putting contest. He had a great season last year on the Corn Ferry Tour, and I think he needed that tie for 16th, that top 20 finish last week to kind of propel him, to give him that confidence, to get him ready to start contending on the PGA Tour. And I think this is a really good week for him because, you're not too far from last week. It's everything, or I mean, you are far, but just everything kind of meshes well together. I like his chances this week.
We posted our picks for last week in the Perfect Portfolio earlier. There was a lot of red on there, but I will say you and I did a Twitter Spaces right before the Farmers Insurance Open last week. It was fun. We had questions from the audience. One question came from Canada, said, hey, there are 9 Canadians in the field. What do you like? Who do you like out of them? I just like to say, I said Taylor Pendrith, low Canadian. All right. We didn't get everything wrong last week, so we were right there. All right. Last play. We got some money to spend. You left me some money. You never do that.
Very generous.
I am going to spend it on a guy who shows up at Pebble every single year. There are a handful of them, whether it's Jordan Spieth, Matt McNeely, Jason Day, Daniel Berger. There are a lot of guys who show up. Nobody likes this place more than Kevin Streelman. Kevin Streelman has 6 straight finishes of 11th or better, and he's got his buddy Larry Fitzgerald next to him as well. By the way, they are 40-1 to win the Pro-Am portion of this event this week. I kind of like that play. They've won it 2 of the last 3 years it's been held. But Kevin Streelman, I feel like some golfers are team sport athletes trapped in a golfer's body, and they get into these Pro-Ams and they say, man, I got another guy with me. We can read putts together. We can high five when we make one. They like the team aspect. Streelman loves team sports, big baseball guy, big football guy. I think he likes having a teammate with him, and I think he likes Pebble Beach. I know he likes Pebble Beach. So that's the lineup. Seamus Power, Michael Thompson, Denny McCarthy, Aaron Rai, Taylor Pendrith, and Kevin Streelman. Ship that one. All right. As always, we've got a first-round leader contest. Go to @GolfBet and name your favorite first-round leader pick. You can win some nice GolfBet merchandise, and very much like the last 3 events on the PGA Tour schedule, there are multiple courses over the first handful of rounds. This week, the first 3 rounds with multiple courses. You've got Pebble Beach, of course, Spyglass Hill, and Monterey Peninsula. So it's going to be split in the books. You're not going to get great odds throughout the board because it's not everybody listed together, but you got 3 different chances, so you can play 3 different first-round leader bets. So, Amanda, who are you picking on what course?
Yeah, I'm so over these split courses. It makes it so difficult. But like you said earlier, Monterey plays the easiest of all the whole courses. Scoring average is the lowest. So Who do I go with other than Cameron Tringale, number 3 on the PGA Tour last year in scoring average, just a hair over 69. He tees off at around noon on Monterey. He's going to likely get off to a hot start. He's coming off a tie for third last week. He likes to get off to a very hot start on Thursday, and I think him on Monterey coming off the tie for third is like the perfect storm for that. I love Cameron Tringale. I almost picked him a few weeks ago for first round leader and kind of wish I did, but like I think Cameron Tringale at Monterey is the best player you're going to get.
I don't mean this is a backhanded compliment whatsoever. He's on the Thursday All-Star team. That means something for bettors when we're trying to find first-round leader plays. He usually gets off to a hot start. All right, I'm going to go with a guy who you mentioned already, coming off a runner-up finish 2 weeks ago at the Amex. His last 5 Thursday rounds have been all in the 60s. Tom Hoge. He's another guy that likes to get off to a hot start. I like this guy at Pebble Beach tomorrow, 18-1. And remember, it's only a third of the field playing Pebble Beach. He eludes some of the bigger names who are playing in the celebrity rotation. So I'm going to put $10 of my 100 on Tom Hoge at Pebble. Let's recap those perfect portfolios. And yes, let's hope they're perfect this week. Amanda with Fitzpatrick outright, Berger for a top 10, Hoge top 20, and Tringale for a first-round leader play at NPCC. I will go with Mito Pereira outright, Justin Rose top 10, Brandon Harkins for a top 20, and Tom Hoge first round leader at Pebble. Thank you so much to everybody out there for watching this episode of the Gimme presented by BetMGM. Remember, check out all our content on Golf Bet this week and every other week. For Amanda Rose, I'm Jason Sobel. Good luck with all your bets for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Here's hoping you guys hit the green.